Hi, my name is Coach Tasha. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you are a subscriber of my channel, welcome back, okay? So in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you about key questions you should be asking your tax accountant, your tax professional, your tax fill in the blank, whatever you call them, okay? Whatever they are, your tax expert, tax strategist, okay? And this is a perfect video for this time of year. You know, fall is coming. We have a few months left in the year. And there's actually there's quite a bit of information that you should be, getting from your client, or you should be having a tax planning meeting, I guess you could say, a catch-up meeting to go over some key things. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, because this is what's going to help you get better results for 2024 when we file next year, okay? So you're going to see me looking at my notes. If you're not new here, you already know how it goes. I like to really stay focused, all right? So just bear with me, okay? Now, the first thing I want to say is that the importance of this tax planning meeting or this catch-up call, whatever, to, find out what is the best way you should finish out the year is mainly because it's going to really help you maximize your tax savings. It's going to ensure that you're being compliant. It's going to really help you optimize with some business decisions. And also, once the year ends, whatever you had time to do, it's going to be too late. So as I said, now is honestly the perfect time. And honestly, the content in this video is good for all throughout the year. But again, it's mainly key for end of year, okay? Now, let me get to the questions, okay? So, and it's in no particular order, all right? One great question to ask is, how can I minimize my tax liability, okay? Because honestly, there's no one size fits all to when it comes to your taxes, okay? Different situations are going on with you versus someone else. And so you really want to find out, on a more personalized level, what can you do to minimize your tax liability, okay? And if you don't, let me also make sure you understand what tax liability is. I'm going to give a little definition. So here's what your tax liability is. It is basically money you owe on your taxable income. That's what you're liable for, and that's what you're responsible for paying taxes into, the money you earn based on your net, okay? After all deductions and credits and everything like that. But that's what your tax liability is. And sometimes if you notice that you'll get a refund is because you overpaid, and if you owe, it's because you underpaid, all right? So that's what your tax liability is. And you have a tax liability each year that you have taxable income, okay? So now another great question, what deductions and credits am I eligible for, okay? Because again, different circumstances apply to different situations, different taxpayers. For example, there's an electric vehicle credit, okay? Were you aware about that? There's something called a saver's credit, and depending on if you meet certain criteria and you've been contributing to your IRA, your 401k, you may qualify for something called the saver's tax credit. Another credit is called residential clean energy credit, okay? Depending on certain things that you did with your home, if you're a homeowner, and you may qualify certain things that you may have done. For example, a lot of people are getting like solar panels put in now because you do get credit for solar installation, but there's more things that fit under there. So again, you would want to find out, do you qualify for any of them? Or potentially, is there something you could do before the end of this year to get qualified for it? Okay, that's the whole purpose, to see what you can do before the year ends. Another great question to ask, should I make any additional retirement contributions? Because, for example, depending on what retirement plan you have, is there time to maybe there's another one that you need to open? Maybe what you already have, there's more that you can contribute into, okay? Because that also helps to reduce your tax liability. And what I always say to people is which way would you rather? Where do you want the money to go? More to the taxes or more to benefit you when you retire? So obviously you want your money to go towards your person, right? You yourself, instead of going to taxes. Now, though it doesn't work dollar for dollar, it absolutely still helps to reduce your tax liability. So it's in your best interest to make sure that, especially if you see you're going to owe, it might as well, or if you want to increase whatever refund you maybe do, might as well, if there's more room to contribute more money, why not, right? Okay. Another great question to ask is, what should I be doing now to prepare for next year's taxes? Okay. Excuse me. Now, let me give you an example. Let's say, for example, in your business, this year you've had significant growth in your revenue, okay? Actually, what's probably going to wind up happening is that you probably are going to have a higher tax liability. Remember, I led with that, right? So if based on how things are going, due to your increased revenue, you may have an increase in your tax liability. Maybe before the year ends, maybe your estimated tax payments need to be increased, okay? And I hope you've been paying into those. If that applies to you, yeah, hopefully you've been paying them. And at the time of this video, we have a payment coming up due September 15th, okay? And so you want to make sure that that is in place. Another thing, again, back to maximizing your retirement contributions. Hey, based on the increased revenue that you've made or increased income, should you now is there room to increase how much you contributed to your retirement? Okay, that's another great thing to look for. And then also making sure you're tracking your expenses more diligently, especially because you have the increased income and revenue, okay? Also, maybe they're going to make sure you're reviewing, or they're going to review with you potential deductions that are now taking place, again, due to your increase in income and revenue. Maybe there was some additional purchases you had made. So there's room for that as well. There's, more deductions you're going to be taking. Sorry. Okay. Another great question to ask, are there any changes to tax laws that will affect you? Okay. Or will affect me, like as if I'm you speaking to your tax person, okay? You definitely want to know, were there any tax laws that were changed that may have an impact on you? Definitely good to know. Absolutely. Another great question to ask is, are there any new tax credits or deductions that I can qualify for? Okay, you just never know. For example, I'll give you an example. Depending on what kind of business you have, and if you have people who work for you, IRS actually put out a new child care business tax credit, which qualifies you up to $150,000 tax credit if you meet certain criteria. And that has to do with, if based on the people who you have working for you, your employees, if you have now created or set up child care space, maybe you added on something additional to now have a child care center in your workplace, or adjacent to the workplace, whatever. The bottom line is, whatever funds went into doing that, you may actually qualify for up to $150,000 in a business tax credit for setting up that child care facility, okay, to provide a benefit to your employees and people who work for you, okay? So again, this is why this meeting is super important, okay? And now another great question to ask, how can I improve my bookkeeping and record keeping to make tax filing more easier, right, when it's time to file? Because a lot of times when it's time to file, this is what brings on a lot of stress, because people are scattering, looking all over the place, trying to figure out what to gather, what to do. And you really don't have to approach tax filing season like that. You can be more prepared, such as if you had improved your bookkeeping and record keeping. Okay, I'll give you an example. I actually just launched a new product, tax deduction tracker. Make sure you check it out, and I will include the link to my digital store. At the time of this video, I'm actually having a sale going on for the Labor Day weekend holiday. And so, yeah, I have the tax deduction tracker. I also have something called a small business bookkeeping tracker. So you just kind of can figure out based on the description which one would work out better for your situation. You know, some people like to zone in on just the tax deductions, and you know, because maybe they have income coming in from multiple sources, and at the end of the year you just kind of maybe gather up what you made for the year based on the documents you received, but you just really wanted to focus on your tax deductions. That's perfect for you to do that, okay? It's an excellent spreadsheet. Everything is automated. So I really put a lot of work into it. Okay, check it out. Another thing, and we're still under the question of how can I improve my bookkeeping and record keeping, right? Make sure you stay to the end because I'm trying to, you know, drop you on some gems here. I'm trying to help you run things more efficiently. Okay, so, and also be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All right. Now, another thing that falls under improving your bookkeeping and record keeping is making sure that you have a separate business bank account. Okay, by this time, especially if you've been in business, whatever, some people you'd be surprised they've been in business and they don't have a separate business bank account. I really don't know why, but you really, it's like very, very important that you're not commingling, mixing personal and business transactions. Okay, so you need that separate business bank account. As a matter of fact, I recently did a video, and I'll put a link to it. It's called Avoid Mistakes, Essential Documents for Business Banking, okay? And I basically gave you a rundown in there of what you need to do when you're going to open up your business bank account. And I'm also going to leave a link to a bank that I highly recommend that you bank with, okay? And it's a banking online. Okay. Another thing that falls under improving your bookkeeping is scheduling regular bookkeeping reviews with your tax person. All right. Or maybe even consider hiring a professional bookkeeper. You know, sometimes you can honestly find people on places like Fiverr and Upwork. You know, you can outsource this stuff to them. And that's another thing. But, you know, bookkeeping and record keeping is so essential because that's what's going to help you avoid missing out on deductions and things like that, because it keeps your finances organized, okay? Another great question is, can you review my past returns for potential missed deductions? And this is really key, especially if you're new to that, if you and that tax preparer have a new relationship, and maybe, you know, you really want to make sure that the prior year was done, you know, to the best, that there were no other opportunities that couldn't have been taken. Because if there were some missed opportunities or overlooked deductions and things like that, your return can be amended, okay? So you definitely, you know, want to make sure you're taking advantage of all opportunities. All right. So again, that question could be key even if if they're your regular tax person, because you just never know. Maybe there was something that could have been missed. But again, especially if you're new to that tax person, want to make sure they're reviewing your prior year return. Another great question is my business entity choice, my current business entity choice, the most advantageous for my business? Okay. Honestly, you know, we set these businesses up. We sometimes don't realize that maybe a change in structure could benefit you in a greater way. Okay. For example, maybe when you first started business, you were a sole proprietorship. Now, based on how things have been going this year, it might be more beneficial to convert your sole proprietorship to an LLC, and potentially even convert the LLC to an S Corp based on what you're netting. Okay, as an example, if after deductions and things like that, you're still left with like a net income and self-employment of like 40, 50, 60K or more, it's fine that it may be really your benefit to convert to an S Corp. But again, there's no one size fits all. Excuse me, there's definitely no one size fits all, because there are additional things that are involved when you become an S Corp. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. There are additional things, that happen when you become an S Corp. So again, there's no one size fits all. But again, it's worth at least asking. Okay, asking. And or even converting to a corp. The bottom line is your current business entity structure most advantageous to you at this time? Okay. And if it's not, you definitely want to make some changes. All right. Are there areas of my business's compliance that need to be looked into further? Okay, that's another great question to ask, because, again, your tax person does not know everything that's going on with your business for the whole year. Okay, you have, that's what communication is all about. I'm going to give you an example. Let's say that now, based on your sales, you may now be required to, especially like if you're an online business or e-commerce and things like that, maybe now you're required to get yourself set up for sales tax in another state than where you currently do business from. Okay, there may be a new requirement there, and that again is part of business compliance. So if you didn't ask and they weren't aware, how are they going to know? And then guess what? Potential snowball of issues can happen, because by you not having registered to that in that separate state for sales tax that you were supposed to do based on the number of sales you were having and things like that, you can wind up with unnecessary penalties, all because of a missed or something that was overlooked. Okay, so these things are crucial. You always want to make sure your business is in compliance on numerous levels. Okay, another great question to ask is, should I consider any major purchases or investments before the year ends? And I kind of touched upon it earlier, because again, let's say if it's looking like you're going to owe a significant amount, whatever that dollar amount is. Maybe there's some things that you can purchase in your business before the year ends, so that you can get the deduction. All right, and then it'll help bring down once again your tax liability. That's always the end goal, to bring down that tax liability. Okay, and so if making a necessary purchase is going to help do that, then it would be better to do it. Even if you're not able to, based on what you purchased, even if you're not able to take the immediate tax write-off, there's something called depreciation. Maybe you can depreciate it. Okay, and overall, even you may have some other long-term goals. Okay, for example, you may already know that you're going to want to be hiring some employees, and maybe for certain parts of your business, and maybe it's going to require a certain type of training. Okay, maybe you need to purchase programs to make sure that you're going to have the training in place when you do hire those employees. Again, this is an investment in your business, right? An investment in your business, because you knew you were planning to hire these employees for this particular part of your business. You knew they were going to need this specific training, so you bought the training programs. You invested in your business. Okay, that is absolutely necessary. Something ordinary and necessary, because that's what write-offs are all about, to help you grow your business, and again to reduce your tax liability, save on taxes. Okay, so at the moment, those are my list of questions. If I come up with more, if you guys want to know what more important questions or additional important questions you should be asking, make sure you comment below and let me know. Please be sure to share this video with your other business friends. And because you just never know who needs the information. And I believe some of the things I touched upon is not even just for business owners, honestly. Okay, as we all know, my channel is all about taxes, entrepreneurship, success, and all the things. Okay, I do thank you for watching. Make sure you check out all the links in my video. make sure you check out all the links in my description box, and I will see you at the corner of success. Bye-bye.